Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Emily Dickinson. Spring has arrived, officially, not just with the cleansing rains and bright green leaves and flowers stretching their faces to the sun, but also with it a strange liminal season, new and untested, strange and unfurling, emerging like spring herself, on its own terms, on its own timeline, and with its own rules. And all of us are caught up in this network of mutuality, whether we like it or not. It probably was always this way. We just didn't have to acknowledge our interconnectedness. Our prophets have been saying it for a while now. But as a society, we did not feel that we had to listen. But now, we're listening. It's unavoidable for everyone. No one is exempt. And now we see how interconnected our shared life truly is. It is both life and death and everything in between. I would be lying if I said that this new reality doesn't scare me. It does. All this newness and its bright and terrible unfolding. All this opportunity, buried under layers of apathy and inertia, at first slowly sloughing off, and now, as the days pass, rapidly, at a record pace, increasing. It leaves me and us vulnerable and exposed to the harsh elements of this current shared moment. Shelter in place. What may we say of hope in this, the chillest land, adrift on the strangest sea? Where is our hope in this new strange spring of dying and living? Like many, our little family has retreated into the sanctuary of routine and ritual, setting boundaries of time and task as we share one tiny space, doing each only exactly at the time. For us, in our household, it goes a little like this. 8:30, wake up and breakfast. 9:30, chores and fresh air if it's not raining. 10:30, academic time. Noon, lunch. 1 to 2, quiet playtime. 2 to 5, free time with screens. That's important. 5, happy hour with MC Hammer and snacks and an episode of Doctor Who. 7 o'clock dinner, then bed prep and bedtime, awaiting the sleep that will carry us to another day, just like this one. This, of course, is our daily schedule told from the perspective of our 7-year-old. To know how we're really doing, you'll need to overlay the layers of my spouse's PhD work and my work for Stanford, and the additional layers of what seems endless worry about, well, everything, right? Ranging from how much toilet paper we have left, to when we'll need to venture out to the store again and whether the rules will change before we do that, to the health and safety of our loved ones who a week ago were 5 hours away by plane and now a universe away. My 93-year-old grandfather just called on FaceTime. It makes me scared. And yet, in the midst of it all, our days are full, as yours are. And yet also, In this moment of fullness and anxiety, there's also space. And that space is growing. Space to notice, space to feel, space to wonder. I can feel it growing. Part of our emerging new normal in our house are daily walks in our fresh air time. I live on campus, so we walk on campus for now. And although we've been here since August, I can tell you that I'm experiencing this place, Stanford, and the world itself as if for the first time. The colors, the textures, the green of the leaves, the knobbliness of the bark, the smell of the flowers, and the birds. The birds are glorious. As I was walking yesterday, my son was riding his bike up ahead, and for a moment I found myself alone on the path, suddenly swimming in a sea of sound. As the source of the sound came into focus, I realized what it was. It was birds. Have the birds always sung this sweetly, I wonder? And I haven't stopped wondering since that moment. Only days earlier, I had walked through campus with a truly heavy heart, mourning the loss of the fountains, which had stilled and drained in the past week. The sound of the fountains, particularly, had been a source of unexpected joy and comfort for me since my arrival on campus this summer. You see, I can hear and see the fountains in different ways throughout my day at work. I could hear the sound from the Circle Sanctuary on the 3rd floor of Old Union, drifting in like waves of the ocean, or as a welcome mat as I arrived to work every morning before almost everyone else. I could hear it from far off as I walked to Kupa and back again. It went before me and hemmed me in. The sight and the sound of the fountains were for me a symbol of light and life and movement and hope in what was a time of great transition for me and my family to Stanford this year. And when they stopped earlier this week, it felt like hope in a way itself was dying. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's how I felt. And yet, only a few days later, yesterday, a new sound had filled its place. In that moment of realization I described just a few moments earlier, as I passed the red fountain outside of Green Library, I heard what sounded like baby birds. I stopped and I listened, looking up into the evergreen from where the sound had emerged. As I looked, the sound stopped. And then as I waited, it started again. I looked at the branches, looking for the source. I stepped in onto the mulch, closer, looking up. The sound started and stopped again several times. Chirping, but multi-voiced, ephemeral, whimsical, magical even. And then in my searching, I found what I was looking for, the source of the sound. It wasn't a nest of baby birds. It was a single, solitary hummingbird, singing with what sounded like many voices. She sang in her many voices, and then she stopped and flew to a new branch, and she sang again, filling the air with sound. And then she stopped again and flew again, up and around, up and around. I lost her for a moment, and then I heard her. Not her voice, but her wings whirring by the side of my ear, and then she was gone. What does hope sound like? maybe the beat of hummingbirds' wings, or her sweet voice sung in many voices like many waters that cannot quench it. Is this hope? There and then gone again, and then emerging in a new form? For me, it is. I know hope may seem far off in these strange and liminal times, and yet it seems when we are aware it is still all around us, though it may be fleeting. May you find space in the many small deaths, maybe in the large ones, in the new life that is offered in this new and strange season. May you hear and feel the tender and fragile hope offered to us in these liminal times, like a hummingbird wing, or a multi-voiced song, or even the sound of silence. Much love and many blessings for the time that unfolds before us. From my household to yours. Amen.